Question for you. What would you say the role that exhaustion plays in your life, particularly in your relationship? And why is that important? Well, stay with me and I'm going to tell you. Hi, everybody. Geoff Laughton here, your relationship architect. And I'm going to welcome you to part 2 of 5. Part 2 of setting your relationship up for success in 2019. And to reiterate why that's important to do that is because if you have a really great relationship, then there's really a lot to be gained by continuing to improve it, to let it grow from a basis of good to really good. But if you're like most people that I certainly run across, if your relationship has been struggling or just isn't really where you want it, then the one thing you can know is that if you don't consciously work on setting it up for success, then you're most likely to end up with the proverbial same shit, different day. And who wants that, really? So last time I talked about how important in episode 1, I talked about how important it is to really be clear who you are and what's important to you, what your highest truths are. So today, I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios that can help you see if you have a problem with exhaustion running your relationship. So scenario 1, really simple, is you just generally feel overwhelmed overall. And it's getting harder and harder for you to suppress that or hide it or deny it in your interactions with your partner or with your kids or both. Another one is you find that it's just getting increasingly difficult to get everything done. No matter how hard you work, no matter how many different time management scenarios you try and come up with, you just always feel like, what's that expression? A dollar short and a day late or something like that. So you just always feel like you're in survival. But you're not necessarily in survival monetarily, certainly I hope not physically, but you actually feel like you're in a survival battle with how many things are on your to-do list. Third symptom, you often feel like you're constantly reacting to things. Your fuse and your temper are getting shorter and shorter and shorter with everything, with everybody. Any of that ringing a bell for you? So if it is, let me tell you what happens if you don't change that. And then I'm going to tell you how you can change it. So number 1, if you don't shift any of that, because those are all symptoms, they're signs that things need to be adjusted. And if you don't, if you just keep being the hamster on the treadmill, trying to keep up, trying not to fall farther behind with all the things you need to do for your career, for your marriage, for your kids, your family as a whole, if you just keep going, and I'm speaking from direct experience, folks, either your body gives out, your heart has to shut down, not physically, but your heart just shuts down, and you're a walking brain in survival mode, just trying to stay alive, figuratively speaking. And that only gets worse. And then you get emotionally disconnected from the people you care about the most. And that includes even your children. And then lastly, do you like sex? I think a lot of us do. If you like sex, and if that has been a strength in your relationship, if you don't deal with what I'm talking about, that's probably one of the first areas that you really begin to notice, things aren't so great there either. And I'm going to be talking about that more, the sexuality piece. That'll be talked about on Thursday, which is the 24th. But for now, those are the things that you can count on happening in varying degrees of speed and rapidity. And they actually, as those happen, you actually get even more overwhelmed. And sooner or later, something just collapses. It's going to be your body, your mind, your relationship, all of that. It doesn't need to happen. So what do you do about that? Let me give you a few quick pointers that you can start playing with. So there's 3 things that can be underlying being in that state that I just described, individually and or as a couple. And essentially, the first piece is priorities. And I'm not talking about a Franklin Covey or, some success book written for corporate people. I'm not talking about those kind of priorities, related, but not exactly the same. What I'm talking about is if you're in a relationship and you have children in particular, what is the hierarchy of most important priority of those 3? Well, a lot of people in my experience over the years will say children, then work, then our relationship. Okay? I see that, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that to be the case in the couple decades that I've been doing this work with couples. And that is backwards. The top priority actually has to be yourself. And I don't mean that in a selfish, nihilistic, narcissistic way. I'm simply saying, if you're 100% responsible for how you're experiencing life, which you are, then you have paramount responsibility to make sure that you're operating in an aligned way. You're in alignment with your spirit, with your heart, your body, and your mind. And no one can do that for you except you. So you have to start with what you're needing and what's true for you. Then, in my opinion, it needs to be the relationship, and then your family, your kids, and then your job. And that's going to sound heretical to a lot of people because we're such programmed guinea pigs to just be work first, work first. But if you flip that the way I just laid it out, then actually you'll have more power and more energy and more bandwidth to feed those other areas. Because a happy couple helps children be happier. If you make your kids first over you, then your kids find out that they have all the power and you're constantly going to be reacting to their needs instead of helping train them to live this same hierarchy of priorities I'm talking about, which leads to happier lives and happier relationships. And if you're good and your relationship is good, your kids are empowered by that, and how you balance the demands of work are being mandated as much or more from your heart first, and then the mind gets to come in and go, oh, okay, here's what I need to do to help make this thing and this whole thing that matters to me so much work better. Second thing that you want to be paying attention to is really, are you truly a team? with, and sometimes it'll feel like against, the demands of life? Do you each kind of end up triaging things at home or regarding your relationship and your family? Are you doing that on your own, or do you do it together? The more overwhelmed that you get, it just gets to be kind of ego survival to try and just, okay, I got to figure this out, and I've got to do this, and I'll let my partner know later. Easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Well, it is in the short term, and it blows up in your face in the long term. So how much can you both actually partner up so that in a way it's the two of you against anything that wants to press in or feels like it's pressing in, even the hardest of circumstances? If you're a partnership that treasures your individual sovereignty and alignment, then you work solutions out together. And that takes some practice and some other skills. Another thing, last thing that you need to do is you can really look at when was the last time you did a reality check with each other on what your values are, what you each value the most, and what key values are for life in general, but also for your relationship. Because let me tell you, I started in my relationship with my wife when I was 24. I'm 61 now, and my values, you know, a lot of the core ones are the same, but they've also changed. They've evolved over the last 37 years. So what I want to say is that if you haven't really sat down with yourself and then with your partner and really identified what are the 5 top core values that you have, you're also setting up this dynamic I began with, which is feeling overwhelmed, feeling overloaded, and just continually trying to struggle for air and hoping that it all doesn't go to hell in a handbasket too badly. So if you'd like a tool to do that piece, the values piece, then either comment below if you're watching this on Facebook, and you can also comment if you're watching it on YouTube, and let me know that you'd like a values tool. I have a worksheet that I'm delighted to send you. So if you'd like that, then just message me, comment, or you can email me directly at Geoff, Geoff, at yourrelationshiparchitect.com. You don't have to stay in this kind of a situation, folks. But it does take going outside what, in my experience anyway, is the typical toolkit that people have. It's like asking you to build a house without a blueprint, a design, nothing but a 2-man construction crew. It's not a way to win. So if this is sparking with you, if this is, you know, having you in any way, shape, or form, think a little harder, or you might be going, oh crap. Then the other thing you might want to take advantage of is if you'd like to be able to have some time with me directly to look and see how this particular issue I've spoken about today can be fixed if you're going, yep, that's us. Or if you just want an overall assessment of how strong the foundation of your relationship really is, where it's good, where it's cracking a bit, and what might need to happen for you to actually shore it up, or maybe even realize that you're ready to do a complete remodel or upgrade the entire experience, then go to my website at yourrelationshiparchitect.com, and right on the top right hand corner you'll see a box that says set your relationship up for success in 2019. Get a relationship design review. So just click on that, and it'll take you all the way through letting you know what that is, what's involved, and if that speaks to you, it helps you set up an appointment with me to do that. All right, everybody, thank you for your attention. And please, I'd really love to hear how this is landing for you, if it's all too familiar. And again, if you'd like a worksheet just for your relationship values in particular, then comment and ask for it, direct message me, or email me. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will be back on the 24th talking about part 3, sex. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.